Welcome to Free Media, I'm Robby Soave.
And I'm Amber Duke. 60 Minutes reporter Scott Pelley is speaking out after the resignation of his executive producer, Bill Owens, following pressure from CBS's parent company, Paramount Global. The sudden departure of Owens has sent shockwaves across the liberal media, with other journalists accusing Paramount Global CEO Shari Redstone of wanting to mute CBS's criticism of President Trump. Here's what Pelley had to say on his own show, mind you.
In tonight's Last Minute, a note on Bill Owens, who until this past week was executive producer of 60 Minutes. He was our boss. Bill was with CBS News nearly 40 years, 26 years at 60 Minutes. He covered the world, covered combat, the White House. His was a quest to open minds, not close them. If you've ever worked hard for a boss because you admired him, then you understand what we've enjoyed here. Bill resigned Tuesday. It was hard on him and hard on us, but he did it for us and you. Stories we pursued for 57 years are often controversial. Lately, the Israel-Gaza war and the Trump administration. Bill made sure they were accurate and fair. He was tough that way. But our parent company, Paramount, is trying to complete a merger. The Trump administration must approve it. Paramount began to supervise our content in new ways. None of our stories has been blocked, but Bill felt he lost the independence that honest journalism requires. No one here is happy about it, but in resigning, Bill proved one thing. He was the right person to lead 60 Minutes all along.
So the reason everybody is talking about this is because, so he's the host of 60 Minutes, and the producer resigned because of friction with management. So it's kind of an inside baseball thing, but it's like as if we started this segment of Free Media going, we're really going to tell you about the Reason Foundation and how much they suck. Then it would make news.
Yeah.
It makes news when you're criticizing your own company on your company's platform. Given that they do work for a company and, everybody's got a boss, unless you're out in totally independent media, Substack land on your own show with, full independence, nice for those people. You do have friction on occasion with parent company, but I have a hard time. And look, I don't like when people get fired if they were facing, pressure from up above to change their editorial direction or do things differently. That sucks, and I feel for people when it happens to them. I'm just not a fan of 60 Minutes in general because I've found a lot of their segments like bonkers, insane, especially lately. I said this on Rising a million times, so apologies that there's crossover audience and they're sick of me complaining about this, but man, that German speech police one.
That was so bad.
Just lives rent-free inside my head, that them lusting after the power to confiscate people's electronic devices for saying offensive jokes as they do in Germany. Now they're free to have that take, and I don't agree with the Trump administration suing them. I do agree that the editing of the Kamala Harris interview was not good. I don't think it's something to sue over. They can edit it not well if they want, but what's your take?
Yeah, on that one, it's a little tricky because there is with the standards of having the broadcast license do say you're not allowed to do certain things in order to manipulate audiences. So I don't think it's quite that cut and dry. But I don't watch full 60 Minutes episodes for precisely the same reason you identified, which is that it's genuinely insane. This guy, Scott Pelley, who is now complaining about his producer leaving for a lack of editorial independence for the parent company apparently wanting them to be nicer to Trump, gave one of the biggest softball interviews I've ever seen to Joe Biden. Right. So his complaints now ring a little hollow to me. But I actually have a bigger complaint about this moment on this show because they call it the last minute, and yet it was 1 minute and 27 seconds long. What the heck is that?
False advertising.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I missed that.
They should pull their broadcast license just for that, for not being able to do math, for not being able to keep time.
Well, you know what math scores are like in these countries these days.
That's right.
The other thing I wanted to say about this is, so their fear that the Trump administration could scrutinize the merger, the sale, or also that the sale just can't go through while the lawsuit is pending. That's a kind of different issue because I think the lawsuit is not so well-founded. But the broader issue of government having oversight over business mergers is exactly the progressive worldview.
Well, sure.
So, and this would be my criticism of that, is if you give the government massive antitrust powers to say, no, you're a monopoly, you're not allowed to acquire this company, we get to sign off on this. Or we get to sign off on, government gets to decide what was fair coverage, what was balanced coverage, how much time you gave to the other side, all that kind of net neutrality adjacent stuff. Progressives have always wanted this. If you want the government weighing in on those kinds of decisions, at the end of the day, you will eventually come to a place where, for political reasons that serve one part or the other, your business is being effed with. And that's exactly what is going to happen in this case.
Yeah, and all of these people who, let's be honest, probably voted for Joe Biden. I can't imagine they voted for Trump in 2020. Ushered in Lena Khan, who was one of the most vocal antitrust FTC chairs that we've ever seen.
Right now, Zuckerberg was clearly trying to convince the Trump administration to back off the antitrust case against Meta
not going well.
for acquiring Instagram. But also, the case is ridiculous in my view. To me, this goes to the hollowness of the anti-monopoly kind of antitrust argument. Facebook is not a monopoly because now Facebook is in worse shape than ever. They're facing robust competition across every corner of their business. They looked like a monopoly at the time the government initiated this lawsuit, but circumstances developed whereby they just don't have power over the market. They compete with TikTok. They compete with any number of things. And so I think it looks very silly to have initiated this lawsuit at the time they did.
Yeah, I do think the case is not as strong as when they first started the investigation, which was in Trump's first term.
Because there's incredible, change in the tech sector over time. Just things that look dominant, sometimes are dominant because they're a really good product, and then the second it's not a good product anymore, or that it just loses some kind of ephemeral popularity or quality because they don't own an actual infrastructure. It's not like they own all the oil fields and they can't face competition. It's a vibe, man. So that's another topic. But
good
anyway,
rant, Robby.
Thank you. Good libertarian rant. Our apologies to 60 Minutes. I'm sure they're still on. Yeah, they're gonna have to borrow your watch.
That's right.
I guess. More free media right after this.